We shall now have an opportunity for silent prayers and meditation. Thank you so much. Honorable Premier, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Chair of Chairs, Deputy Chair of Chairs, the Chief Whip, leaders of the opposition parties, specifically the main opposition, the EFF, and all other political parties. Today is a very important day that we are going to receive the budget for the province of Limpopo. We shall now start with our sitting as scheduled. But before I proceed, honorable members, this is your house. Allow me to first indicate that the MEC, Honorable Mahoai, did not come alone. That's why I remember so he didn't come alone, he has brought guests, and we have a responsibility to acknowledge the guests that have been invited to join us in this sitting today. I might not be able to acknowledge the specific categories, but I will acknowledge the few. So if I did not mention your name, please just accept you are one of the important guests, and you will all be welcomed. I will acknowledge the Deputy Speaker, Med Kgabo Mahoai, in our midst today, the Honorable the Premier, Dr. Provincial, she's with us, members of the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature, leaders of various political parties, who are as well members of this August House, the Chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders, Hosi Ngove, Lemahoshika Muka, Nabutamele Bote, Otanganezi. Former members of the legislature who are present today, the Director General of the province, Ndate Nchabilin, the Secretary of the legislature and your staff, you acknowledge members of the Chief Executive Officer of the Financial Fiscal Commission, Mr. Tulani Ntuli, you are warmly welcome. Members of the boards and Chief Executive Officers of our various entities present here today, Executive Mayors of our municipalities, as well as all mayors present today, the leader of the governing party, the African National Congress, represented by Msanda Ruben Magaji, Otangani Zwanabone, leaders of representatives of our Chapter 9 and 10 institutions present, leaders of organized labor, faith-based organization, civil society organizations, SABC, COSATU, all leaders of youth, women, and people with disability organizations present, captains and leaders of various industries in terms of our business sector, distinguished guests, people of our province of Limpopo, you are all welcomed. I as well acknowledge other important guests. Today we have received a delegation which requested to come and observe our sitting. The visit by Teflo Graduate School of Leadership, which is part of the University of Limpopo. Students and lecturers are here with us. Today we have visitors from the University of Limpopo, Teflo Graduate School of Leadership students. We have 12 master's degree students in our midst who have requested to witness the proceedings of our sitting. The students are accompanied by the school director, Mr. Njogo, Senior Lecturer Dr. Ramova, Ms. Lamula, and Office Manager Ms. Muegates. On behalf of all members, I welcome you all to the Limpopo Legislature. Feel free and enjoy our proceedings. Can we welcome all our guests with a round of applause? Honorable members, we will now proceed with the orders of the day. Before I proceed, Chief Whip, there was a task you were requested to do. Can I proceed with the amended or the old? Order paper.
Amended, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. In terms of the order of the day, the first reading of the Limpopo Appropriation Bill, Bill 03-2025, we shall now allow the MEC for Provincial Treasury, Honorable Mahoai, to come and address the people of the province on how they are planning to put the resources aside. Honorable Mahoai, the platform is yours.
Honorable Speaker of Legislature, Member Mama Krupeje, the Deputy Speaker of the Legislature, Honorable Teboho Mamrobela, Premier of our province, Honorable Dr. Popira Matuba, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature in your different ranks and gradings, leaders of various opposition parties present, Chairperson of the House of Traditional Leaders, Hosi Peningove, Lemahoshi Kamuka Babalongona, former members of the Provincial Legislature present here, the Director General of the province, Mr. Napin Chabele, and all heads of departments. Chief Executive Officer of the Financial Fiscal Commission, Mr. Tulani Ntuli. Members of the boards and chief executive officers of our various entities present, executive mayors and all councillors present. Leadership of the governing party, the African National Congress, represented by Msanda or Ruben Madaj. Leaders and representatives of our chapter 9, 10, and 13 institutions present here. The Financial Fiscal Commission is one of those institutions supporting democracy, but very responsible for the work that we are doing here. Leaders of organized labor, faith-based and civil society organizations present, all leaders of our youth, women and people with disabilities present, captains and leaders of various industries and notably the agriculture sector, the mining sector, and all those who come from those areas. Distinguished guests, people of our province, Limpopo, Toela, Ndimachironi, Abusheni. Honorable Speaker, we have the honor to table before this August House the Limpopo Appropriation Bill 2025, Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure 2025, Overview of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure 2025, Socioeconomic Review and Outlook 2025, Supporting Gazettes, and this budget speech. Honorable Speaker, as we gather here today to present the budget of the Limpopo Provincial Government, let us reflect on the old age wisdom of our forebears. You know, when a cow is slaughtered, every part is put to good use. For it is in its entirety where lies the nourishment for the whole community. Just as the skilled butcher knows how to utilize each part of a cow, transforming its meat into sustenance, its hide into shelter, its bones into tools, sometimes to do floor x-ray as well. so too must we approach our budget. In the face of challenges, we are called to ensure that every rand is allocated wisely and effectively, addressing our three government priorities while leaving no resources wasted. Together, we'll navigate these difficult circumstances, ensuring that our province thrives and that every resident benefits from our collective wisdom and efforts. Honorable Speaker, the unprecedented events around the tabling of the national budget and the subsequent delays in the tabling of the provincial budgets have truly tested the mettle of our democracy as a nation. Even though as a province we do not have the complexities of a multi-party government, we too are affected, or were affected. We hope for the ease approval of the tabled budget by our parliament, sooner rather than later, within the prescribed period. So, to just give a context, Honorable Speaker and members, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa lays the foundation for a unitary but decentralized system of intergovernmental relations by providing for three, and I have to quote this, distinctive, interdependent, and interrelated, close quote, spheres of government. It is in this context that our province does not operate outside the framework laid down by the Minister of Finance in his budget speech recently. In this regard, the Financial and Fiscal Commission plays a critical role by providing independent, research-based advice to Parliament, provincial legislatures, and municipalities on the division of nationally collected revenue. So the FFC ensures that the allocation of funds aligns with constitutional principles of equity and efficiency, thereby reinforcing the intergovernmental fiscal framework. It is no wonder that they honored this, they graced this event by being present, because behind some curtains they are doing the work which ultimately become what we all in these three spheres have to deal with. Furthermore, the annual division of revenue bills, which becomes DORA, gives legal effect to these allocations by specifying how funds are distributed across the three spheres of government. Therefore, our provincial budget must align with the national budget framework while responding to local service delivery needs. There has to be a balancing act here. So as we move on, Honorable Speaker, I would like to point out this fact that we are presenting this budget at a time of high uncertainties, shaped by both domestic and global economic trends. The political developments following the 2024 US presidential elections, the posture taken therewith, coupled with the uniqueness of the operation of our government of national unity in our country, are some of the phenomena that will shape our approach to the challenges brought about by the uncertain socio-economic climate. These paradigm shifts, in tandem with ongoing global geopolitical tensions, are influencing the global economy, creating challenges for governments, businesses, and households alike. The geopolitical dynamics, including trade conflicts, tariff battles, shifting alliances, and international security concerns, are likely to have far-reaching consequences. In addition, other factors such as inflation rates, energy crisis, and economic policies in various nations also play a role in driving our economic transformation. The global economy continues to exhibit divergent trends, with emerging markets and developing economies expected to experience stagnant growth between now and 2026. In contrast, advanced economies are projected to witness modest growth, while sub-Saharan African countries, including South Africa, are anticipated to record a positive growth during this period. However, persistent economic structural challenges hinder South Africa's economic growth and prevent our country from achieving the desired growth levels necessary to address pressing socioeconomic challenges. So the South African economy, including that of our province, has stagnated for over a decade now. During the same period, the GDP growth has averaged less than 2%, far below the level required to meet the expanding list of the needs of our people. In 2024, the South African economy grew by only 0.6%, and over the medium term, the GDP growth is projected to average 1.8%. On the other hand, the provincial economy grew by only 0.2%. You can see the context in which we operate is a very challenging one. Whereas in the past 10 years, Limpopo's GDP has only grown about 2.0%. In 2021, it was at 5.5% from a negative growth of minus 6.7% in 2020, which was the result of the COVID-19 pandemic. During 2024, the province GDP only grew by 0.2%, following a 0.6% growth in 2023. Agriculture, manufacturing, construction, wholesale and transport sectors all contributed negatively to the provincial GDP growth in 2024, while mining, electricity, finance and personal services recorded positive growth. Honorable Speaker, our economic performance obviously is a mirror reflection of our country's GDP growth, since the South African GDP, as indicated earlier, has also contracted. Agriculture remains one of the main sectors for Limpopo's economic growth and has unfortunately recorded a significantly larger decline. However, at least on a positive note, the mining sector recorded an increase as the province's economic growth continued to be more reliant on the sector given its bigger share. Therefore, there can never be a greater need than now for the province to address the provincial development challenges and to unlock economic opportunities through increased productivity in agriculture, manufacturing, and construction sectors. To this effect, we must have a transformed economic structure with greater emphasis on value addition and high investment on infrastructure projects that will help to create employment and stimulate the economy. This is what our Premier emphasized in a State of the Province address, and to the ideal to which we have to put everything in achieving that. Equally important, to meet the country and provincial goals of redistribution, redress, and structural transformation, the economy needs to grow much faster and in an inclusive manner, which is the central objective of the current 7th administration. It is against this background that this budget proposes a bold and pragmatic approach to achieve this formidable task, as it calls for macroeconomic stability supported by sound fiscal policy, deepening local structural reforms to remove the obstacles to a sustainable economic growth and a solid foundation for job creation. This will enhance the province's resilience to external shocks and create a conducive environment for investment in the province. I'll now focus on this much required approach to development, which rests mostly on infrastructure development as the focal point. Honorable Speaker, investment in infrastructure remains the backbone for economic recovery, development, and improving the living standards for the residents of our province. Hence, the province continues to introduce fundamental reforms to enhance planning and provision of infrastructure. It is also essential to advance the progress made in enhancing infrastructure planning, delivery, and procurement over the years. The province's infrastructure planning framework, which was applied over the past few years, is aligned with best practices, which include the National Treasury's Infrastructure Delivery Management System and the Infrastructure Alignment Model. It is therefore necessary that the province continues to implement this framework over the 2025 MTEF, more so that it has demonstrated maturity and steadfastness. So to a point that, together with National Treasury, we developed a case study on the best practice infrastructure reforms implemented by our province we will share this when we deal with budget votes, to the extent that we can show that as Limpopo, we're getting somewhere with regard to this area. Over and above the notable best practices, we continue to observe strategic challenges that require us to enhance our infrastructure planning, reforms, and delivery strategies on a regular basis. This means that our approach to infrastructure delivery has to be proactive rather than reactive. Part of it is that we fail because we always react to circumstances, rather than be initiative and do things in an innovative manner so that we can overcome whatever hindrances that can be. We can ensure this by strengthening governance, not only to promote value for money, but also to ensure that the infrastructure budget allocations are directed towards the right projects in a coordinated and reliable manner. Furthermore, there is a need to enhance the province's capacity to deliver infrastructure projects on time, within budget, and to the required quality standards. You can't compromise this equilibrium. The province is developing a framework to oversee the capacity and performance of implementing agents. We will not rest, we dare not fail, as the Premier would always say, in this area, and will elaborate it further. The province, this framework is intended to provide a coordinated approach to define the minimum requirements regarding capacity, systems, and processes that an entity or sector department must meet to be recognized as an infrastructure implementing agent. It doesn't just have to be someone can just come in and do. There has to be a demonstrable ability to do so that will convince us as we put money in that direction. In addition, it will clarify the roles and responsibilities of all stakeholders, expanding the scope of services to ensure effective planning, procurement, and delivery of infrastructure programs. This process will assist with informed decision-making as we allocate program and portfolio scope of works through the program management plans to our implementing agents. It can't just be one size fits all. It will depend on the nature of an infrastructure that we want and at what point and to what quality standard. Significant effort was made in finalizing the infrastructure plans so that they align to the Limpopo Development Plan, which is the primary strategic instrument that aims to create a sustainable and viable economy by ensuring resources are invested towards infrastructure. In order to realize the targets set out in the LDP, the province plans to review and institutionalize the Limpopo Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan to foster integrated planning and promote interdepartmental collaboration. The master plan will provide a cohesive framework for infrastructure development, supporting sustainable growth and efficient resource utilization across the province. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Godongwana, in his budget speech, pronounced the reconfiguration to the budget facility for infrastructure, the BFI, to run multiple bid windows instead of just one annual window, as was the case. This announcement comes during the time when the province is proactive and has developed a framework for funding of the LDP 2025-30 priority programs. So everything has had to be costed and be tailored against the resources so that there is no disjuncture between what is intended and the available resources. So the province will, among others, maybe one has to emphasize the point. This framework will assist in the resourcing of catalytic projects, together with sourcing of alternative funding mechanisms, such as the public-private partnership. It's something that we should explore more, as it then brings the public sector and the private sector into the same space in order to maximize on each other's capabilities or resources. Development finance institutions and this budget facility for infrastructure. So the province will also engage on more awareness sessions to encourage provincial departments, municipalities, and entities to have the willingness to promote and participate in public-private partnerships projects. Honorable Speaker, the province during January this year conducted a provincial infrastructure readiness workshop to prepare and finalize the plans for 2025-26, which means the things that I'm going to talk about here on the allocations have gone through rigorous discussions and planning and all those things that are required before you say, I'll do this. Do you really have what it takes to do that? We want to move away from this practice whereby we say things and do the other things. We indicate left and turn right. That's what will not happen. All departmental infrastructure plans have been firmed up and utilized to inform the final allocation. We have to check what the Premier said. And because she said she doesn't talk about promises, she emphasized the fact that she talks about commitments. And commitments should be tangible, should be concrete, and there should be resource allocation in tandem with it. So we had to do what we should do in order to have this matter resolved in that manner. So over the 2025 MTF period, a total budget of 21.6 billion rand has been allocated for the provision of infrastructure within the province. This allocation will fund infrastructure projects of various categories in line with the pillars of the medium-term development plan and the strategic objectives of the Limpopo development plan, and the project details are captured in the project list of each department. It is not just a theory, it is a living organism. The provincial infrastructure budget for 2025-26 is 7.5 billion, allocated to various departments. The Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure receives 3.2 billion, while the Department of Education receives 1.6 billion rand and Department of Costa receives 1.1 billion rand. The Department of Health receives 907.2 million. 2 million. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is allocated 267 million to continue with that theater and ensure that the libraries are being maintained. You know, we witnessed a very successful venture by this department over the weekend when they really did a wonder by bringing a very important Bafana match where everybody wanted to be. These amounts I'm referring to are only relating to infrastructure. That's not their budget. They have their budget, but this one is earmarked for infrastructure, as I started earlier to show that we have to do what we undertook to do. So the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is allocated on the infrastructure side 210.2 million rand, and the Department of Transport receives 141.6 million. You know, you'll see what MEC Mate wants to do. He wants to track you. He wants to purchase, she wants to purchase this device that you don't have to wait where the traffic cops are, but they will just drive with you and issue you a ticket. So you may worry about the varying figures. Remember, this is only infrastructure. And the less it becomes, it means we're targeting maintenance. This is one area that we have ignored throughout. You come up with a very brilliant idea, project, you do it, but there is no mechanism to maintain it. And therefore, what we mean on this grant, on this infrastructure funding here, we're talking about specifically dealing with infrastructure-related challenges through the whole value chain. So social development will get a piece of cake here of 15 million. It's for maintenance. And the Limpopo Economic Development and Tourism gets 31 million. No, they have to go and ensure that these resorts are being taken care of, are of a standard that people can go. So It's not like they're going to start a new thing. What you would say, what is 31 million going to do? But maintenance, as I said, because that's the area we've always been lagging behind about. So the province aims to ensure that resources are fully expended. There's always a concern that money gets returned. We have to make sure that they are fully expended and that slow spending is averted through regular monitoring and evaluation. Where necessary, regular refresher workshops for project managers and improve procurement plans. It's one thing to just give a plan, procurement plan, but when you come to the implementation, the two do not speak together. Given the current fiscal constraint facing the country, we acknowledge that the growing demand for infrastructure indeed surpasses the resources at our disposal. You can imagine 7.5 billion for a backlog such as what we have, but we can always learn to do more with less. We can be so focused that we can ensure that whatever we have, when we look at it, we'll pride ourselves that we did something better. We are therefore compelled to be innovative in our dealing with infrastructure to ensure that the resources allocated to our province are fully expanded, as I said earlier. So, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, Honorable Speaker, in his State of the Nation address, emphasized one important area: the urgent need to establish professionally managed ring-fenced utilities for water and electricity services. These are the functions performed at local level. He further indicated that this is to ensure adequate investment and maintenance, as many municipalities have failed to reinvest the revenue they generate into the upkeep of critical infrastructure. You hear people that if you go into public facilities, toilets, and you don't find the notice out of order, know that you are not in a government facility. I don't know how far true this is. That's what people say. If you go to toilets that are owned by, that's not me, and you don't find them saying out of order or water dripping or darkness, then they say you may be lost because you're only in government. I'm not sure how far true that is, but as the Premier has directed, we will need to have more robust engagement. The Premier was actually coming up with an idea that we'll rather train young people as artisans and rather use them to fix all these things, because the infrastructure decays bit by bit. It starts with a clock not working. Then it comes to a dripping tap. Then it comes to a complete dysfunctional door. The next moment it is just something else. So we will definitely go into there and zoom in there. So municipalities cannot achieve financial sustainability without improving revenue. And this is the only sphere of government, together with national, that is actually legislated to generate revenue, unlike the province. And if you can't maximize revenue that will assist you to reinvest in service delivery, so what is the purpose for your existence? This has to be looked into very thoroughly, and whatever mistakes we have made as government across the board, we should really relook into this and ensure that we live up to what we undertook to do. So, Provincial Treasury is cognizant of the economic difficulties that the ordinary residents of our province are facing. It is therefore imperative that municipalities implement their policies on free basic services and enforce the necessary credit control policies to protect the current revenue streams. Collaboration with other stakeholders to venture into other economies are critical. Limpopo Provincial Treasury will continue to provide the necessary guidance on revenue management to ensure revenue protection, reduce the leakages and spending on non-priority items. I'll now focus generally on revenue management, Honorable Speaker. We are proud to present the budget of hope to the people of Limpopo. Our province has seen a significant increase in its provincial equitable share, with a 5.5% average growth over the medium term. So we're not going down, we are going higher. However, we are aware of the pressing socio-economic needs and the growing population in our province. To address some of these challenges, we are prioritizing own revenue collection under the direction and leadership of the Provincial Treasury. That's why we rose quickly when we were promised that should we buy all this video recording while we are speeding up, it can indeed assist in taking those who are costing lives to then pay for it through these fines. Our revenue enhancement strategy is beginning to bear fruit, as witnessed in the collection of 2.2 billion at the end of February 2025. That is 97.3% of our revised target of 2.3 billion. Our target has increased significantly from 1.8 billion rand in 2024-25 to 2.0 billion rand in 25-26. 2.1 billion and 2.2 billion in 2026-27 and 2027-28, obviously through the medium term. This represents an average increase of 6.0% over the MTF period. We continue to incentivize provincial departments and public entities that exceed their revenue set targets, ensuring that the revenue target is set, the revenue target set is realistic and achievable. This strategy involves investing in provincial government holiday resorts, infrastructure, implementing the Provincial Liquor License Act, and extending the K53 learners and driver's license function to Tuando and Seshego. This was said by the Premier, and what we did is that to allocate for the purpose of ensuring that these are realized. So our provincial owned revenue collection is primarily allocated to the Department of Health and Department of Education, recognizing the importance of social services as an enabler for socio-economic development. A healthy, skilled, and educated community brings good economic returns to the province and the country. So we dare not fail in that regard. Honorable Speaker, Minister Enoch Godongwana's 2025 budget speech announced spending reviews to fund essential services. National departments, provinces, and the presidency have been tasked to conduct spending reviews to identify areas of reprioritization and efficiency. Provinces will thus focus on identifying efficiencies and reducing wastage. The Limpopo province welcomes the announcement and will join hands in the spending review projects with the robust oversight of portfolio committees and SCOPA. I believe there will be mechanisms to ensure that we live up to this undertaking as we deal with this important subject. Limpopo Procurement Strategy 2030 was approved by the Provincial Exco in 2018 to ensure the achievement of strategic objectives of ensuring maximum retention of provincial fiscal spending in the province, creating an environment for local economic development aligned to the Limpopo Development Plan, and empowering designated groups through public procurement. It was further reviewed and approved by Exco in November 2023, in terms of which accounting officers and authorities are required to report on a monthly basis to Treasury on their discretionary budget expenditures aligned to the achievement of these important strategic targets. It is not an inward-looking kind of a thing. It is simply say, reinvest locally in order to grow muscles, to be able to be a player externally. There is no contradiction about that. So, however, Honorable Speaker, out of the total spend of 10.7 billion, the province has spent 6.4 billion on black-owned businesses, which translate to 60% of the 65% of the strategy target. The province has further spent 2.1 billion on women-owned businesses, which represents 20.4 of the 25, as well as 6.4 billion on SMMEs, which indicate that the province has achieved 60% of the 70% target. This is a concerning matter, though. More so that Stats South Africa has shown that Limpopo is a youthful province. It is therefore important that the province improve its spending directed at procurement from youth-owned enterprises to change the economic situation and reduce unemployment. As things stand, we are not doing enough in empowering the youth and the people with disabilities. This is not just a phenomenon, but a reality that we need to change, and the best time to do that is now. Honorable Speaker, it will be a big achievement for businesses in Limpopo to benefit from the procurement within the province. But statistics from April to December 2024 show that only 34% of the reported expenditure is for the Limpopo-owned businesses. A cause for concern, but a hope in the process. Because we now know where we are, we should know where we go, in line with that, with what the Premier has directed in this August House. We therefore make this call, Honorable Speaker. Let us change our approach and ensure that the funds appropriated in this August House are, in as far as possible, spent within our province to stimulate the local economy. This principle is articulated in the Limpopo procurement strategy, and it is our collective responsibility to translate these strategic commitments into tangible actions. Our blueprints must not remain mere documents, but serve as a catalyst for economic growth, job creation, and sustainable development in our province. Honorable members, as alluded to previously during the presentation of the amended adjustment budget appropriation bill recently, global warming due to climate change is no longer a distant threat, but a lived reality. Limpopo has also experienced the effects of this climate change, and this calls for stringent interventions from the province so that it can be ready to respond to disasters as they occur. Following the December 2024 and January 2025 floods that damaged our provincial social and economic infrastructure, the Premier of our province, in a State of the Province address, instructed that Provincial Treasury should consider establishing a Provincial Disaster Management Contingency Reserve Fund. To this effect, Honorable Premier, we are happy to report that such a fund will be established within the framework of the National Disaster Management Act, which encourages budgeting for disaster recovery and rehabilitation through threshold funding. Section 56, subsection 3 of this Disaster Management Act allows the Minister to prescribe a percentage of the budget of a provincial or municipal state organ as a threshold for accessing national funding for disaster response efforts. It is actually surprising that sometimes, still when we talk about climate change and the effects thereof, we're still not prepared. We don't have contingencies. And we get surprised when it happens. We cry all over when we know it is only in unforeseen circumstances that you can cry. But if you know something is likely to happen, it is only fair that you prepare for it, no matter how big or small that can be. So the threshold percentages proposed, set by the National Disaster Management Framework is always, is reviewed every 4 years. And currently the threshold is 1.2% of the provincial budget. You can calculate when I mention the figure here. 1.2% of that should be earmarked as a contingency reserve fund. Okay, so the municipalities must follow suit. Because there is no way you can always cry and not act on your cry. National transfers to the province comprise equitable shares and conditional grants. That's a well-known fact. And remain the primary revenue sources for the province over the 2025 medium-term period. These two sources, namely equitable share and conditional grants, contribute 98% of the total receipts. You can add what is remaining? 2%. And where does the 2% come from? Own revenue generated by us. Do you blame us for that? We are not a revenue generating sphere of government per se. However, we have to try to increase that through creative ways. So I'm now coming to, I'll bore you with figures now, which is what I'm here for, Honorable Premier. The 2025-26 transfer receipts from national government increased by 4.6 billion rand, from 81.4 billion in the current financial year to 86.3 billion in the 2025-26. If you add 2, our budget is 88 billion. From what? 81. You know, that's why the importance of our Financial Fiscal Commission in their reserve, in their research, they're able to determine certain things that need to do. So under the circumstances that we are, and you receive this kind of a boost, is very rare and has to be commended. So the national transfers in the subsequent, because we mentioned the MTF, in the subsequent financial year of 2026-27 is projected to be 89.35. And in the outer year, 93.8 billion rand. Overall, provincial receipts, including own revenue, increased by 5.1 billion, or 6.1%, from 83.5 billion in 2024-25 to 88.3 billion in 25-26. Under these circumstances where we're crying, you are lucky that instead of remaining like this or going there, you are going there. What will remain is the responsibility for us to make good use of what we are given. So the total provincial receipts in the into the next year, which is the second year of the MTF, will increase by 3.5%. It is lower and will revert to 5.1% in the outer year. Over the 2025 MTF period, the provincial equitable share increases from 69.6 billion rand in the current financial year to 74.0 billion in this 2025-26 year that will start on the 1st of April. So 77.7 will be in the 2026-27 and 81.8 in 2027-28. In monetary terms, this translates to a year-on-year increase of 1.1 billion rand, 1.3 billion, 1.8 over the MTF. So the increase amounts to, as I said, to 4.3 billion. Honorable Speaker, the changes in the equitable shares allocation is a result of a number of upward and downward adjustments implemented by the national government over the 2025 MTF. The upward adjustments over the next 3 years include 3.9 billion for new data updates, 1.7 billion additional funding for wage increments. As you'll recall, there is this wage agreement that needs to be serviced, and therefore National Treasury has provided funds for that so that we can honor the wage agreement. I believe workers should be proud that we will live to this to ensure that this happened. And 158.0 million for Presidential Youth Employment Initiative funding directed to the Department of Education. Conversely, the downward adjustment over the next 3 years include a total amount of 4.8 billion emanating from the effect of fiscal consolidations, mainly 2.3 billion in 2025-26, 2.4 billion rand in 26-27. However, the National Treasury's decision to phase out fiscal consolidation from 2027-28 is a positive move that may boost economic growth and enable the facilitation for creation of jobs. Overall, the provincial payments estimates amount to 274.8 billion over the 2025 MTEF period, the 3 years, of which 88.9, which is the current budget, is allocated. And this increased to 94.7, I repeat, for the sake of clarity, for the next year, and the final year will, as we said, will be positively affected by the fact that the fiscal consolidation would have ended. Honorable Speaker, we must indicate that the slight decrease in conditional grants, as I should have indicated there, that it is a total of 35.9 billion, with 12 billion allocated in the current, in the 25-26, and 12.0, which goes a little bit down in 2027-28. So there is this, on the conditional grants, there is this slight decrease. We must indicate that this slight decrease is not a cause for concern, as this resulted from conditional grant reviews, as announced by Minister Godongwana during his budget speech, aimed at reducing duplication and improving effectiveness of progress. There were instances where certain conditional grants were serving the same purpose in different sectors. Therefore, in reviewing that, it has to be streamlined appropriately so that there should not be such incidences. Honorable Speaker, as I'm about to outline the allocation per vote, let me begin by indicating that the budget allocation to departments followed a robust assessment of the alignment of the prioritized project within the medium-term development plan to ensure that the allocation for catalytic project is used for the intended purpose and the desired results are achieved. Provincial Treasury earmarked the allocation of such projects and will monitor implementation on a quarterly basis. We'll not wait until it happens. We'll deal with it as it comes, and we will then avail information, technical information, to the robust portfolio committees, so that, and report that also to the Premier, so that everyone understands that we cannot allow a situation where we just sleep on duty. I therefore, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, present the following appropriations per vote. Vote 1, Office of the Premier. The Office of the Premier is allocated 1.7 billion over the MTF, of which 554.8 million rand is made available for the 2025-26 financial year. So the 2025-26 allocation is inclusive of the 109.5 million rand earmarked funding for ICT-related projects in the province. We do not fail in that one because we are living in this era where ICT is the master key to every door. Vote 2, Provincial Legislature. This is allocated a total budget of 2.1 billion over the next 3 years, of which 671.6 million is made available for the 2025-26 financial year. This allocation is mainly for the operational expenditure of the provincial legislature, essentially to expand the oversight capacity of the institution. These are the people who represent the citizens in every seat they are, and their work has to be made more easy, that there should be no resource constraints when it comes to oversight, which will bolster our resolve to run clean governance. Vote 3, Education. The highest share of the provincial budget is allocated to the Department of Education, which receives 133.8 billion rand over the next 3 years, in line with the provincial government's commitment to continue providing quality education in the province and to implement programs vital for improving learners' performances across all grades, not just grade 12, all, from 1 to 12. Of the total MTF allocation, 110.5 billion or 82% is directed towards funding public ordinary school education to cater for the 1.6 million learners in no-fee public ordinary schools in line with the national norms and standards for funding. This is a very important thing because this government has undertaken to provide free education, and this is in action, by the way. So the 2025 MTF budget includes also 902.1 million additional funding for wage increment. The bulk of compensation of employees is within educators. This is critical to sustain the salaries of teachers in the province who provide quality education to our learners. We also dare not fail them. In the next financial year, in fact, the next, which is this financial year that the budget is for 2025-26, a total of 42.5 billion is made available for the education sector. And this includes 158.0 million for Presidential Youth Employment Initiative for the Teachers Assistance Program, 100.0 million rand for e-education, and 100.0 million for storm-damaged schools project, 70 million for improvement of matric results project, and 41.8 million rand for procurement of school furniture, and 3.8 billion in conditional grant funding for school feeding scheme, school infrastructure, and early childhood development, among others. Agriculture and rural development. Agriculture and rural development is allocated 5.9 billion over the next 3 financial years, of which 1.9 billion is made available for the 2025-26 financial year. The 2025-26 allocation includes 32.7 million for the revitalization of agriculture and agro-processing value chain projects, and 10 million rand for the Limpopo broiler houses. This was a directive. The department is also allocated conditional grants amounting to 346.0 million in 2025, which will grow to 370.7 in 2027-28. Provincial Treasury. Over the next 3 years, the Provincial Treasury is allocated. This is vote 5. Honorable members, and most importantly, our honored guests, when we speak in this parliament, we don't talk about the names of the department, but the votes. Yeah. Because parliament is voted for and authorized by the legislature. So education is vote 5. But Provincial Treasury is vote 5. I started with vote 1, the big office. Vote 2, I mentioned the legislature. Vote 3, education. Vote 4, it is agriculture. Now I'm going to vote 5. The Provincial Treasury is allocated a total budget of 1.6 billion, of which only 512 million is made. Yeah, this is for 3 years. Only 512 is made available for the 2025-26. Sure. Included in the 2025-26 financial year, it is 5.9 million, and for infrastructure capacity building programs. Remember, we're going to be overseeing delivery of infrastructure. With little, we will do, and smallest of them all. So we lead by example. We don't have much, but with the little that we do, you will see miracles. So the 12.3 million is for municipal intervention capacity building program. Honorable Makam, we are there with you. We are administering the Municipal Finance Management Act, and we seek nothing but compliance. And we'll do that robustly, and we'll never shy away from doing that. Vote 6 is economic development, environment, and tourism. Honorable Speaker and members, in response to the call made by Honorable Premier Dr. Poppy Ramathuba when she said, and I quote, "Our resolve is driven by the need to see Limpopo's economy growing and creating jobs," close quote. The Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism is allocated a budget of 5.1 billion over the next 3 years, of which 2.2 billion rand is made available for the 2025-26 financial year. Included in the 25-26 allocation is 1.1 billion set aside for transfers to Limpopo Economic Development Agency, LEADER. 102.0 million for Limpopo Tourism Agency and 72.1 million rand to Limpopo Gambling Board. The transfer to LEADER is inclusive, Honorable Premier, of the 730 million rand for the implementation of Musina Makado Special Economic Zone and the Fetahomu Tubatsi Industrial Hub catalytic projects and other economic enablers. We carried the mandate. This budget also allocates a total of 206.6 million to Great North Transport in 2025-26 financial year for the acquisition of buses to provide much needed relief to the existing aging fleet, enhancing operational efficiency and passenger experience. So the Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism allocation also includes 65.8 million rand for waste management and air quality control. The environmental part of the department is tasked here for waste management and air quality control, and for the completion, refurbishment, maintenance, operationalization, and equipping of state resorts. The department is also allocated 4.5 million, Honorable Mative, for that very market-inducing event called National Tourism Career Expo, which I had the privilege to attend last year, where we are hosting the whole country and showcasing Limpopo in its different manifestations when it comes to tourism. Vote 7, health. The health function is allocated 82.5 billion over the next 3 financial years to support the equitable provision of public health services, including free primary health care. About 54.9 billion rand, or 70% of the health budget, is directed to funding district health services, particularly district hospitals, primary health care facilities such as clinics, community health centers, and HIV/AIDS programs, which also provide outreach services. Furthermore, the 2025 MTF budget includes 512.9 million rand additional allocation for the wage agreement. In 2025-26 financial year, 26.0 billion is made available, and this allocation will ensure that the department continues sustaining the salaries of medical health professionals and the procurement of medicine for distributions to public hospitals and clinics across the province. Included in this 2025 budget is 54.6 million for the procurement of additional ambulances to cover areas that are in dire need of these ambulances, and 4.2 billion conditional grant funding for district health care, HIV and AIDS, health profession training, health treasury services, national health insurance, and health infrastructure. Vote 8, transport. Yeah, Honorable Mate. The budget for the department is 9.3 billion over the next 3 years, of which 3.0 billion rand is made available for the 2025-26 financial year. Included in the 2025-26 allocation is 281.2 million for the implementation of provincial priorities, which include 56.0 million rand for the electronic vehicle monitoring system. You know what? We subsidize buses. And sometimes we can say, I have 15 buses, when you are operating only 3, and the 7 you just raking money. That's over. You know why? We will have this gadget to see what is in the movement and what is not. And that can assist us to recover whatever would have provided. That's how she wants to deal with you and myself. 3.5 million rand is for moving violation recorder. Agree you check the traffic, where the traffic cops are, where the fixed cameras are. That is over 2. Because with this moving violation recorder, you are going to be detected any and every time. Please watch. And 221.6 million is for various infrastructure projects within the department. So the 2025-26 allocation also includes 152.8 million set aside for transfer to Gateway Airport Authority Limited, of which 97.8 will be used for the implementation of car service delivery improvement plan projects and 55 million for operational costs. The 2025-26 allocation also includes conditional grant funding of 485.0 million rand, mainly for public transport operations. Vote 9 is Public Works. The allocation for the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure is 15.2 billion in the next 3 financial years. In 2025-26, on an allocation of 5.6 billion is made available, which includes conditional grant funding of 2.6 billion for provincial roads maintenance. I must emphasize that there are complaints about road conditions. Well, take aside the devastation of the floods, but people want to see roads, new roads, and maintenance thereof, and re-graveling where possible, regular blading where possible, passable roads, bridges that should be fixed, either to or from, some in the farms, others in the deep rural areas. We believe we are getting there, Honorable Rachweni. You are the khere will be catered for. You can. We also make sure that their maintenance is included in the funding over and above. In the 2025-26, a total of 577.6 million is earmarked for the implementation of provincial priorities, and this includes 150 million for the settlement of municipal rates and taxes. Honorable Makam, it can be that government owes municipalities. Please refer them, because they really have to do something about that. There's this money that is catered for that. 100 million for procurement of road fleet. We felt that was not enough. And equipment. We want to see them in motion, Honorable Rachweni. 100 million for the procurement of office building and 89.0 million for the construction of 15 additional parliamentary houses. It should be recorded that the legislature was increased from 49 to 64, and there should be houses equivalent to the number thereof. So the department's 2025-26 financial year allocation also includes 958.6 million set aside for transfer to Road Agency Limpopo to improve the provincial roads network. The allocation to RAL includes allocation for the implementation of roads infrastructure and maintenance projects, which have been allocated 420 million and 280.8 million respectively. A further 125 million rand is allocated to RAL for St. Engenazan Christian Church R71 interchange project. It has been outstanding. Huh? Sports, arts and culture, Honorable Maseko. The vote 10 receives a total budget of 2.3 billion for the next 3 years, of which 877 million is allocated for the 2025-26 financial year. So the allocation is inclusive of 216 for the construction of the Provincial Theatre that everybody passes on the road next to the smelter there, and 10 million for the Provincial Archives, maintenance and upgrading. We cannot overemphasize the importance of archives. You have the Bible today written 4,000 years before because of archiving. Otherwise, you would not have it. So our records need to be archived appropriately. Life did not start in 1994. It just got a boost there. So we put the amount thereof to ensure that the Provincial Archives is maintained and upgraded. Included in the allocation to the department is 233.8 million rand conditional grant funding for mass participation and sport development and community library services. No amount of social media can replace reading, especially of books. It is one invention mankind has done that you can never replace. After all, what you have on your couches should potentially be coming from a book somewhere, or it's going to somewhere to be a book. Vote 11, cooperative governance, human settlements and traditional affairs. The Department of Cogstar receives a total budget of 7.7 billion for the next 3 financial years. Of this, 2.5 billion is allocated in the 2025-26 financial year. And this allocation includes 25 million for construction of traditional council offices and 5 million for furniture for traditional council offices and conditional grant funding of 925.1 million for human settlement development and 181.1 million for informal settlement upgrading. Hosingove, we are trying our best to do what we can under the circumstances, simply because the Premier has made sure that we have to leave from what we did there when we were there where we were. Vote 12 is social development. The Department of Social Development is allocated 7.2 billion for the next 3 financial years for the delivery of welfare services, development initiatives, empowerment programs, gender equality initiatives, and advocacy for children, women, youth, the elderly, and individuals with disabilities. In 2025-26 financial year, the department receives 2.2 billion, and this includes 13.9 million to fight gender-based violence and femicide, 16.6 million for social workers, and 17.8 million for HIV prevention programs. We are mindful of the fact that someone has withdrawn support that was there, so we have to do more with less. Honorable Ratsila. Now that we have received our fair share of the cow I started with, ensuring that every part has been allocated for the sustenance of our province, let us commit to utilizing this budget for the intended purpose with responsibility and accountability. Haona mesuba, haona mithuba, haona indlala. So the cow is finished. Nothing should go out of here for any purpose other than what the butcher wants. So that's how much we value you and how you can do. So the cow is finished. You know that the hoof, the horn will do something. Even the blood, as you know, we cook it. Yes. So there is nothing left of the cow and nothing can go to waste. So we really beg you and all of us to ensure that this is realized. People are complaining about both real and perceived corruption. As we conclude, Honorable Speaker, we would like to extend our deepest appreciation to the Honorable Premier, Dr. Phuphi Ramathuba, for her steadfast leadership, vision, and guidance. Premier, your commitment to the people of Limpopo and your dedication to ensuring that government remains responsive of their needs continues to inspire and has shaped our approach to fiscal management and economic transformation. We would also like to thank the members of the EXCO Budget Committee for your continued analysis of our provincial financial performance and guidance. They know themselves within EXCO. To Honorable Maseka Solomon Pedi, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Provincial Treasury, and all committee members, honorable committee members, as well as the Standing Committee on Public Accounts SCOPA, your continued oversight and support have been instrumental in our progress, ensuring accountability and transparency in the management of public funds. I also like to extend my sincere appreciation to all my predecessors. I don't know whether my immediate predecessor, Honorable Squat, is here. I don't know if Honorable Pala is here, but I took from a foundation from others also who I did not mention for their dedication and contributions in laying a strong foundation for the Limpopo treasure. And my guests, special guests, they're a diverse group. Some are my friends in the agriculture sector. Some are my family, or my sister who sometimes behave as if my mother is here. And my brother-in-law there is the Ntate with his Tisando whatever. And then my colleague from the FFC, my colleagues, they know themselves from the Office of the Premier. You don't have to explain what they do, but they are very dangerous, let me say. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation. And lastly, to the Limpopo Provincial Treasury, the team, I call them, led by the HOD, Mr. Gavin Pratt. He must stand up. I order him to stand up. That's my right-hand man, if you like, together with his team and all colleagues. Your hard work and commitment led to excellence, and they will never go unnoticed. Ndolebua, nakenza, gyalebua, bayatangi.
He said now the cow is finished and nothing must go to waste. So accountability, 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 accountability.